Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Alan Singer.
Educator, historian, Dr. Alan Singer, our resident expert on Media Watch. Glad you're with us, Dr. Singer. And we got a ton of crazy stuff. So before we get into the craziness that's making me want to become an expatriate, we have to pay tribute. And Bob, you be ready to pop up the photo for us, please. But one of the giants of jazz, the saxophone Colossus Sonny Rollins, passed. I believe he passed on the 26th of May, I think, somewhere around that time, I think. And noteworthy in that Sonny Rollins, the great tenor saxophonist, was the last remaining member of that iconic Great Day in Harlem jazz photograph that was taken, I believe, in the late 50s or early 60s. I should have checked it before I volunteered that info, but it was such an iconic photo, they actually turned it into a documentary. So Sonny was, as that headline shows, 95. So he lived a long and full life. And we try to do an obit on him. We'd be here for the entire show. So let's just say, thanks for all you gave us, Mr. Rollins, and may you rest in peace. Having done something positive like that, making ourselves feel good, now we're going to make ourselves feel terrible. And I guess big ICE demonstration. Is that where we want to jump off?
Sure.
Yeah.
Over in New Jersey. And it actually was more than an anti-ICE demonstration because basically the people were protesting ferociously for at least, now it's been at least a week, correct, guys?
Yeah.
Because the inmates in this for-profit private prison that ICE has contracted with the Department of Homeland Security or whomever for how many millions of dollars? Somebody looked up the figure.
Oh, yeah.
There's
$520 million in expanded federal contracts just this year.
And probably a no-bid contract because it's part of the graft and the grift that this MAGA administration has been pushing. But they basically have been trampling on the rights of those people. The story I read was they had one judge that was supposed to hear their immigration cases, and he was supposed to hear something like, he or she was supposed to hear something like 72 cases within the course of the visit. And so when the congressman and a series of congressmen, but I think it was Congressman Kim from New Jersey went to visit, one of the inmates rushed off and pulled this thing off the bulletin board and showed him. And he said, hell, that's not even 5 minutes per case for all the cases the judge was supposed to hear. So basically, they're trampling on the hearing rights of the inmates. Then the inmates went on a hunger strike. And so expand on that, guys. One, the private prison thing, and two, the rights being trampled on by ICE.
Well, the private prison thing. Let's point out also that the company GEO, is that the full name?
That's the acronym.
GEO Corporate. Yeah. I don't know what it means. But the president contributed heavily in the millions of dollars to Trump and his cronies.
Yeah.
And the food situation, the conditions, they are not legal. The ICE is not an entity. I mean, it is an entity, but it's not a legal entity. The people who are part of it don't care. They have no mandate except to lock people up. There's no oversight. I mean, who's watching these guys? It's totally out of control. You got a bunch of I don't want to brand everybody. I don't want to say everybody's a thug, but it's filled with thugs who don't care. And they get a joy out of seeing people suffering, maybe even hurting them. That's my 2 cents.
The strategy seems to be maintain people in inhumane conditions. And they could be there for months. And we're talking about families, we're talking about women, children, men. To make the conditions there so bad that they will opt for voluntary deportation.
Sure,
and
anything's better than
give
this.
up on their due process rights. I mean, it's unacceptable. It's inhuman.
Well, the other thing that bothers me, Alan, is they're building these places all over the country. It sort of, I can't help but think about the concentration camps.
Yeah.
At Manzanar, what we did to the American-Japanese hair during World War II. So this can happen. People
No, that can happen. It's happening. You're correct with
It is
that.
happening.
I'm
It is
not.
happening.
There have been investigations about the conditions. What was it? I think 4 shows back, we were talking about how many people had died in ICE custodies in these kinds of facilities. It was up to something like 34 or 33 or something between
It's more than that
2025
now.
and when we were doing it. And that was back in February, we were talking about that. So yeah, you're correct in that. Part of the hunger strike that the inmates in this Delaney facility are on is because they're not just calling attention to worms in the food in the inhumane facilities. They're talking about the fact that children, people on with medical issues are not getting the medical attention and the treatment that they need.
Right.
And so the facility in totality, is just one inhumane structure functioning, as Alan was saying, as a cudgel to make people want to self-deport.
No,
Bob, you had something you were talking about on the local state governments and their. Go ahead.
No, Alan is right. The cruelty is the point. And if you look at the building, it's basically a warehouse building. It's not meant for really that many people to be housed inside of them for that period of time. And we're not talking criminals, we're talking immigrants with they're questioning their status. They're illegal immigrants with different status levels, and they're being thrown in there like Alan said, basically as punishment, even though they haven't been convicted of anything. But the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, tried to get inspectors in there just to see what things were like. And since the facility is in a city, he has the right to do that. The state attorney general has tried to get their inspectors in there. Same thing. They're not. And now they have a lawsuit to at least get an eye into what's going on. Up to now, we haven't seen a video, a photo, or any independent assessment of what's inside. Everyone has been blocked except for people like Border Czar Tom Homan, who has an agenda and who is the author of the Divide Up the Families, splitting up families, splitting up parents from children as a way to get them out of the country. Because
Homan has some previous connection to the GEO private system.
He was previously associated with the GEO group, which is running this private for-profit prison.
So something else you said, Bob, I think it's worth emphasizing. The Trump administration maintained that they were going to be removing criminals. But what the Trump administration has done is it taken away temporary legal status from people. So all of a sudden, they're no longer here legally. But many of these people who were here legally and had the legal right to work. And what the Trump administration does has summarily taken away their legal status.
Well, they've been meeting them at the immigration department. They've been arresting them before they have a chance to hand in their legally obtained papers.
You're right, Raymond, because people will be showing up for their appointments to work on getting their green cards.
Right.
And these people are snatching them up and detaining them and then throwing them into facilities like this Delaney Hall. Now, the suit that the State Attorney General in New Jersey has filed, because of that suit, didn't this new head of Homeland Security tried to do some kind of new ruling stating that no one can come into any of those ICE facilities unless they have a 48-hour notification and they can't inspect without an appointment. Uh, Congress has authorization to inspect any goddamn government facility that ICE runs without need for any pre-appointment stuff. But that's exactly what they have been stopping these congressional people from doing. So what was
Sounds
the
like the
hearing? Go back
SS
to
to
the
me.
hearing, Alan, Bob. You were talking about the hearing when this new guy, what's his name? The what was he? Farmer, ICE, the new head of Homeland Security.
Mark Wayne Mullen.
Yes, this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, his testimony before Congress. What was his last thing about not adhering to judges' ruling? Talk to our viewers about that.
he was asked by one of the people in the congressional hearing whether he would abide by the ruling of a judge. And he basically punted. He said that he essentially said that since the judiciary is politicized, he couldn't give us an answer. In other words, it would be up to him to decide whether the judges were so politicized that the order should be listened to. Basically, thumbing his nose at
the rule of law and the
Yeah.
judiciary system.
Yeah.
This is just so unacceptable. And there was no pushback in this hearing. They just let him say that and sit there without saying, I think maybe you should be brought up on charges yourself and maybe we should impeach you. Nothing like that came out of that hearing. This is bizarre. This is just not acceptable. I cannot. So now he's putting out his own rules telling Congress when they can and cannot inspect an ICE facility. And Congress is not doing anything to push back against that. I find that totally bizarre. So you got ICE telling Congress you can't come in. You got the Pentagon telling journalists they can't come in. Talk to us, Bob, about Pete Hegseth and his new rules for the Pentagon and the press.
Now, Pete Hegseth, the head of the Department of Defense, has been trying so many different methods to keep the press away from interviewing anybody in the Pentagon. First, he wanted to move he took away the press ability to walk around the Pentagon. Then he moved the office outside of the Pentagon and said that they would need escorts to go anywhere. And now he's declaring that the press office in the Pentagon is closed to the press. They cannot use it. Why? Because he recently moved in some speechwriters into that space. And he's saying that since the speechwriters deal with classified information, the press can't be in the press room. This is total lunacy. Absolute First Amendment, trying to blow away. Well, that's his job, to blow away the First Amendment. He's been working at that for a long time. This is the epitome of stupidity. Press not allowed in the Pentagon press office.
So the New York Times still has a pending suit against DOD and Hegseth about his revised rules, supposedly to get around the previous judge's ruling saying you can't do what you're doing. So that suit is still pending and they're still pushing with this new, now we're closing the press room. Okay, so now I don't want you guys to get me started as an ex-military person on the asshole that's running the Department of Defense, which is the official name of that. But Raymond, you need to tell us a little bit, or Alan, whichever one of you guys been checking on this latest anti-DEI Pete Hegseth. He just yanked at least 5 officers from the 1-star promotion list.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about who was pulled. I think it was at least 3 blacks, 2 women, or vice versa. 3 women, 2 blacks. But the bottom line was, what was it about the promotion board, Alan? You probably took a quick look on how the promotion board is set up and then his torpedoing.
the promotion board consists of senior officers who evaluate the qualifications of the people who are up for promotion. Now, but to deny these people promotion is essentially to force them to resign. And so what they did was all of these people were approved for promotion by the official procedure of the Department of Defense. In this case, it was the U.S. Navy, I believe.
Right. It was the latest Navy promotion cycle. Yes.
So
one star admiral, I believe,
Yeah.
they were up for.
And then it goes to the Secretary of Defense, who basically just is supposed to rule that the procedure was followed.
Or if he found later information that says, no, they're in dereliction of this, blah, 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 and so I can't approve of this.
Right.
But he can't just yank their names without not due process, without cause, according to the promotional manual.
He violated the procedures of the United States military and basically said, sue me. And this is the policy of the Trump administration. They keep doing illegal things and then say, sue me. And then it goes in the courts. It could take 6 months, a year to be resolved. And these are career officers. These are people who have served their country. If we're talking about people being promoted to admiral, people who've been in the military for, what, 20 years there? And you're humiliating them.
These people have been so thoroughly vetted. This particular, what were you getting for 1-star general or 1-star admiral in that admiralty or general promotion? That is the toughest promotion board in the entire military. And you don't get your name on that list unless you already put in the time, done the duty, measured up in no uncertain terms for them to say, yeah, you get on this list and you are supposed to be promoted because you earned this. This isn't any favoritism. This isn't, and there's an entire, you said earlier, Alan, a board. This isn't one person. And so the only thing that's in the past would stop that promotion is if they discovered that you had become derelict in your duty, morally, efficiency, something popped up that said, oops, just slipped up, you come off the list. None of that happens. Not even the Secretary of Defense is supposed to stop your promotion. And this guy has thrown that out the window. It is horrendous. It is just unacceptable. And I don't know what this country is going to do about this craziness.
Well, the United States is at war. And while we're at war, the Secretary of Defense and the Trump administration are showing contempt for people in the military service. And one of the problems in the war with Iran, whatever you think it's legitimate or not, is that the United States is fighting the last war. This war is a war of drones. And having giant battleships is just inappropriate. They need people who have military experience if they want to conduct warfare. And those are the people who are being thrown out. And instead, we have a Fox News commentator making decisions about the military.
Right. In addition to the lack of these promotions, multiple firings during the war of people with knowledge who said, that's not the way we do things. And Hegseth saying, yeah, that's the way I want to do it. Goodbye. Yeah. I mean, we've seen, firings of people with talent, as we've seen in other circles.
So we're going to move on to something else. But before I put a pin on that, how's the war in Iran going, guys?
I heard it was over. Is it still going?
So you understand.
Doesn't think it's over. They got hit today, and so did Bahrain.
You understand why the war in Iran is going so well, because those are the dodos that you got running the war in Iran. Okay. With that, we can segue from those dodos to the other dodos who are trying to screw up 60 Minutes.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. You know, I was reading. I think I saw it. Yeah, it was today, and I think I sent it to you guys. Sharon Alfonsi said that they actually told her to misrepresent a story, to put in fake information.
Scott Pelley said that. Scott
Oh,
Pelley said that. Now,
oh, I read it.
also
Okay,
said it,
maybe.
but I read
Barry Walsh also said it. They're all
Yeah.
saying it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Sharon Alfonsi said something different, but to that effect.
to that
That they
effect.
were
that
trying
effect,
to,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. The bottom line is because this show is called Media Watch and we can't get away from this giant debacle that's transpiring at CBS, we'll dig into it. You guys sent a lot of stuff that the Guardian's been on top of this, probably better than anybody else.
Well, yeah.
So we need to give kudos to the Guardian. Times has been covering it. I mean, every mainstream media outlet is covering this.
Yeah.
And that's because 60 Minutes is the granddaddy of television news magazine show. It's been in the front. It was in the front when I was at 2020 battling to unseat them from being in the front.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you were the competition back in the day, Eric. But,
Yeah,
Raymond and I were
only for a
there.
little,
Raymond and I were there
while
together.
because they killed us.
Yeah, the bottom line was, though, we were giving them a little competition there for a while, but the bottom line is they managed to fight us off and continue, and they stayed number one. And the bottom is the Ellisons taking over of Paramount basically is what's the shaft, the stake in the heart, or whatever those analogies are, that's killing not just 60 Minutes, but CBS. You were saying something, I don't want to digress from 60 Minutes, but you were saying something about the ratings for the CBS Evening News. Bob, what was it?
I was just mentioning in passing that the evening news battle between NBC, ABC, and CBS has been dragging at the bottom for a while. ABC's leading with like 8 million viewers. NBC has like 6. CBS has like 4. That's what CBS Evening News has turned into, which it never was. It was a leader back in the day. And of course, 60 Minutes is, well, was the gold standard for integrity and research. And
great journalism.
If it appeared on 60 Minutes, it was research top, bottom, back, forth before it hit the air. Barry Weiss has completely demolished that, and the new guy she hired as executive producer, Nick Bilton, a tech journalist. I'm a tech journalist, but that's no reason to be running 60 Minutes. And so Scott Pelley,
have you doing it than him.
Well, quite frankly, I have better journalistic standards than the guy they hired, but that's another story. And thanks for that, Ray. But yeah, it's being demolished by Barry Weiss and Nick Bilton because decided to fire on his first day in New York, basically, Scott Pelley, who had been there at 60 Minutes for 3 decades. Why? Because Scott Pelley had the guts to
speak out,
speak the truth, and tell him what they were doing to 60 Minutes to his face. He had the guts to do it. And believe me, you, Eric, Ray, Alan, we've been in newsrooms where people have hot conversations and yell at each other, but we all survive it. This guy decided to fire Scott Pelley on his first day.
Well, it's not just Scott Pelley. They fired the previous executive producer of 60 Minutes, the executive editor, 2 of the show's correspondents.
They decimated the show.
Cooper quit. And it was all set off when Barry Weiss pulled a segment about the brutal treatment of migrants deported by Trump to a Salvadorian prison. Alfonso had been the person who did that series.
Sharon Alfonsi, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And she accused them of that this decision was political. But there's a whole exodus. Again, the CBS News producer, Mary Walsh, has resigned. And she said, we were told to aim our reporting at a particular political spectrum. Alicia Hasty, another producer there, said there was a dynamic pressure that producers and reporters to censor. But this is good. This is escalating because the Ellisons are buying Warner Brothers, and they're going to be taking over CNN. And the Freedom of the Press Foundation, Reporters Without Borders, charged that the Ellisons have promised Trump sweeping changes at CNN, including the firing of target CNN anchors. And remember, those are the same characters who canceled the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, because Colbert was a longtime Trump nemesis.
Hey, look, what I've seen over the years, Bob Teague, I don't know if you guys remember him, used to be
Oh, yeah.
New York Times correspondent. And when I was doing research for the first attempt at doing a book on blacks in broadcast journalism, I interviewed Bob Teague and a whole bunch of folks. And this was way back in the 70s. And Bob Teague said to me, Eric, the wall between news and the corporate side is being eroded as we speak. And pretty soon the bean counters are going to run the news division. Now, he said that back in the 70s. And I've seen it come to pass over the years, but there's been a battle to keep them at bay in newsrooms across the board at all three networks. People have tried to keep the bean counters from making them be liable for selling product. They basically said, this is the public's free airwaves. They have loaned it to us by licensing it to us, and we're supposed to serve the public.
And with that, we only have about 45 seconds left.
So we give credit to that 18-year-old hero.
Yes, go ahead,
An
Alan.
18-year-old kid named Santiago Campos just got a scholarship from CBS News, the Mike Wallace Memorial College Scholarship. And at his award ceremony, he denounced Weiss and Ellison and the people who are cutting back on the free flow of journalism.
From an 18-year-old.
Fantastic.
He said journalism is about telling the truth.
Thank you. And with that, yes.
That's a good way to end.
Yes.
So there's hope for the industry yet. Folks, what was his name? One more time.
Santiago Campos.
Fantastic. This has been Media Watch, folks. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
I'm Alan Singer.
And I'm Bob Anthony. Catch up to us on YouTube at Media Watch EVT.
And we'll catch you the next time, folks. Stay safe.